name is Akshita Sivakumar. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Design, and it's been a great few months as a new faculty member. I'm a designer, a social scientist, and a lot of my work lies in the domain of governance of the natural and built environments. My most recent project looks at how computing technologies mediates environmental governance and environmental justice. So what do we mean by that? A lot of environmental legislations and policies rely on computing technologies to drive a consensus or even collaboration between various social groups, be they from the industry, the state, and from social movements and other civil society groups. But to a democracy, dissensus is just as important, particularly within social movements who are trying to make a case for marginalized societies, like in environmental justice that I work in. When we rush to consensus and when these computing tools are used for collaboration, what I analyze is the kinds of marginalizations that get reproduced and new forms of marginalizations that get produced, and the ways that social movement actors subvert these forms of marginalization in order to assert their differences, which are really crucial to the sustenance of the social movements themselves and for solidarities both within and across social movements, be they environmental justice or the labor movement. So what I analyze, I specifically focus on air pollution mitigation and decarbonization. And I'll be bringing a lot of this research to a new effort, a new lab beginning in the winter of 2024 called the Collective of Spatial and Environmental Praxis, or COSEP. And over there we'll be working on how design and social scientific methodologies come together to maintain dissensus within these high stakes environmental legislation and policy decision making, and how do we use design to drive equity within participatory environmental governance, and how do we use the social sciences to critically analyze how design can maintain dissensus.
Hello, my name is Pelaez Lopez, and I am an assistant professor in the Department of Chicana, Chicanic Studies, and I research settler colonialism, the migration of Afro-diasporic peoples in this hemisphere, and the trans imagination. And in my research, I ask, what does it mean to be illegalized as an African diasporic person in the United States and in the hemisphere at large? And how does that illegalization speak to the transatlantic slave trade, the global circuit of anti-Blackness, and the ongoing criminalization of African diasporic people, not only in North America, but throughout the hemisphere? To tackle this research, I read and interact with the poetry, literature, visual work, music work, installation work of undocumented Black migrants to understand how they process the material, everyday realities that the law has on their bodies and in their imaginations. Right now, I am working on a manuscript titled Trans Imagination that tries to understand what it means to, for example, survive solitary confinement in an immigrant detention center, what it means to transition not only gender-wise, but epistemologically wise, spiritually wise, and what it means to be in relation and in kinship with folk who are differently trans, differently ethnicized, differently racialized, etc., etc.
My name is Dr. Katlin Marisol Sweeney-Romero. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Cinema and Digital Media here at UC Davis. My research interests primarily focus on Latina's cultural production and how that cultural production facilitates intercultural discourse related to our public understandings of Latina identity and ethno-racialized scripts around the body. So for instance, I focus on both filmmakers who have established celebrity status, such as Eva Longoria, as well as influencers like Nikita Dragon or Jenny69, who in perhaps more polarizing ways really help us to rethink how we understand the Latina body in Hollywood and beyond the screen itself. For me, teaching classes related to Latinx filmmaking, but also researching Latinx cultural production is really important, because so often when we imagine these spaces related to legacy media as well as new media, we oftentimes are thinking more so about, whether consciously or not, the ways that white filmmakers, white screenwriters, and even to different degrees, white performers are the ones that are facilitating our understanding of Latinx identity in the US. And so for me, especially as a Latinx woman myself, I'm really interested in considering what does it mean for us to reimagine who exactly these texts and materials are for, but also what are some of the key differences between materials that are created with a Latinx audience in mind and those that are perhaps set up in such a way that really implicitly focus on a white audience's comfort. Being part of Campus and CAMPSSAH has really set the stage for my career at UC Davis. I'm super grateful to be part of an exciting cohort of scholars who are really thinking about interdisciplinary research and also collaboration and projects across the university, but also as a scholar who is Latina, who is queer, who is from the California region and is really excited about how we can sort of set up these initial stages for students to envision their own careers, perhaps in California and beyond. For me, being part of this cohort has really allowed me to already think about what are the resources that exist on campus and how can I, within my own department, help to really set that stage for folks to come after me.